What a series. Honestly, this is one of Marvel's greatest things that they've ever made. What's up everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing X-Men 97. This is Marvel Studios' first X-Men project in the MCU. We don't know if it's, connected to the movies and other shows, but it's a huge win for Marvel Studios, Marvel Television, Marvel Animation, just all of it. It is a huge win for them. This show is probably one of the greatest successes they've ever had. I can't think of another project that they've had in recent years that has made me feel a certain way towards a project like this one did. It is so well done. I'm going to get into the specifics of why I love this show so much, but before I get started, make sure to subscribe and like this video. I'd really appreciate it, and let's get to it. Alright, so X-Men 97, again, is the first X-Men related property in the MCU. It was written by Beau DeMayo, who was fired before the show even premiered, so that kind of was a, weird move that they made before it came out and kind of worried a lot of us. But after the 2-episode premiere, I think a lot of our worries were kind of, put away. This premiere alone was so good. Like episode 1, you get to see the team actually work together as a team. You see all their powers being shown off. Everyone gets their time to shine, and it incredibly sets up the story going forward. I'd have to give that one a 10 out of 10. Episode 2, Magneto owned this episode. He's got so many powerful lines, in the UN scene gave me chills. He adopts the mission that Charles set him on, and he tries to transition from his dark ideology to trying to mend the hole between mutants and humans. In this episode, we also get Executioner, who depowers Storm, which was tragic, and the acting was so powerful from her at the end. Alison Seeley Smith is perfect as Aurora. I can't wait to see her come back in season 2. So I'd have to give episode 2 another 10 out of 10. Episode 3, this was the one with Madeline Pryor and Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister is one of my favorite X-Men villains, so it was really cool seeing him return. With this episode, it was a huge, tone shift from the first 2. It was kind of like a horror vibe kind of thing. I thought it was really well done. Madeline Pryor was really cool. She was created by Mr. Sinister, and she's super powerful. She's a clone of Jean Grey that, she was plucked back in the original series. We don't know exactly when she was taken away, but Mr. Sinister in this sounds and looks so perfect. Chris Britton returned to play him. His portrayal is super awesome. I really hope we get to see him kind of redeem himself in season 2, kind of, start to rebuild his body. And then we get Nathan, who is Jean and Scott's son, is kidnapped by Sinister in this. He's experimenting on him, and he's given a biotechnical virus. So Bishop takes him to the future where he knows there's a cure, and it's just an emotional send-off. I'd have to give this one maybe an 8.5 out of 10. It's really well done. It's just a slight step down from the first 2 episodes. Then we have episode 4, which was split into 2 parts. We have the first part with Jubilee and Roberto Motendo. So this is kind of a side story on Jubilee's birthday. It was okay. It wasn't super great. It was tolerable. We get the return of Mojo, which was really cool. It was cool seeing Jubilee and Roberto kind of fighting Mojo and his kind of, video game levels that he forced them to compete in. So that was cool, but it wasn't great. And then for the second half, we have Life Death Part 1, which was between Storm and Forge. Obviously, Storm lost her powers in episode 2. Forge has found her, and he's trying to help her get her powers back. And I thought their relationship is really cool. She has an interesting journey in this, side story for her. And I think it was better than Motendo. It wasn't fantastic, but it is better than Motendo in this episode. I'd have to give this one overall probably a 6.5 out of 10. Then we get episode 5. Buckle up for this. This is the one that sets the stage for the show going forward. So this episode proved that they were not afraid to go full on mature with this show. They did not hold back at all. Everything changes after this episode. And I'll always say this is one of the greatest episodes of TV I have ever seen. The story was amazing. You have the, X-Men back in New York dealing with the media kind of covering the X-Men. Scott is beginning to snap, and you get a look at Jean's relationship with Scott. Then you have Genosha, and we're going to get into that later on, but Genosha is a big eyebrow raise when it comes to X-Men. The character moments in this episode were awesome. The dialogue was incredible, and there's one scene specifically that was so awesomely written. I'm going to let it play, but it is so good.
Most other nations don't allow a terrorist to be their leader.
Yet so many allow their leaders to be terrorists.
Magneto had no reason to go at Val Cooper that hard, but he did. And it's such an awesome line from him. It was so well delivered. It was so well written in the scene. And Genosha looks like a really cool place to live until, lots of tragedy is always associated with Genosha. The Sentinel Kaiju massacres the entire island, which is a huge, shocking moment. You also get Nightcrawler in this episode. He's one of my favorite X-Men characters. He was perfect in this. The acting for him is amazing. The character was done right. He has lots of really good dialogue as well. A lot of, philosophical and wise quotes from him. And I thought that was perfect. So the build up to the massacre in this episode was so well executed. You have the eerie dance music, which as I was watching, it's obvious like something bad is going to happen, but I had no idea to this extent. You have Jean and Madeline having visions. You have the arrival of Cable, who is trying to find Madeline before it's too late. He's thrown back into the future, and then there's a massive explosion. Then you have the Rogue POV of her falling to the street. My heart was pounding at this moment. I was like, what the heck is going on? Then you have another incredible Magneto line.
Save as many as you can. We shall not live our days wondering if we could have saved more.
And there's incredible music as well. There's a powerful rendition of the X-Men theme with a huge emotional weight. I still get goosebumps every time I watch this episode, just knowing what it's going to lead to and what happens in this episode. The music, the line delivery, the characters, it is so powerful, and I can never get enough of this episode. Then you get Magneto snapping. He has tragic flashbacks to the Holocaust, and he shouts, "They will be avenged." Then he has an awesome fight with the kaiju, throwing a train at it. It was so awesome. Then you get Magneto's sacrifice. Such a powerful moment, and a leech clinging to him for help. He looked up to Magneto as an icon, as a symbol of hope for mutants. And Magneto realizes he can't save him. And he says, "Hab keine Angst," which is German for "don't be afraid." And I thought, wow, that was super emotional. It was so fitting to bring back his German heritage in that moment. It's just so well done. And then you get Gambit's sacrifice, which was super emotional. Such a badass way to go out and save the others. And then you get afterwards Rogue kind of holding Gambit, and she says, "Sugar, I can't feel you." I get goosebumps when I hear that. I was teared up for basically the entire ending to this episode. Not long after shit goes down in this episode, I just started, tearing up. I was like, what the heck is going to happen? Like, I don't know what is going to happen to these people. With that, my heart was pounding. Goosebumps. It's a 100 out of 10. This episode, again, one of the greatest episodes of TV I've ever seen. Might be the best episode in this show, but with that being said, I'm going to get to the next one. Next, we have episode 6, which was another split episode. You have the story with Charles and the Shi'ar, and then you have Life Death Part 2. With this, we start with the Shi'ar Empire storyline. With Charles, I knew he couldn't have been dead. It was obvious he was still alive somewhere, and I had a feeling he was with the Shi'ar. It just seemed fitting that he would kind of, go on to try to live that life with Lilandra. The Charles astral plane scene was really well done. It shows how powerful he really is, and when he finds out about Genosha, you get the skeleton gambit, all the students become skeletons. It was so chilling, but executed perfectly. And his return to Earth was imminent. That was so cool, seeing that he's going to come back to save the X-Men. Then you get the Storm storyline. Her powers returned. She overcame the demon, was awesome and visually amazing. And then you get the iconic original black suit, which looked perfect. And while watching this, I know I'm not the only one that noticed this, but there's a Man of Steel parallel where her first fight when her powers come back, it's almost a direct mirror to the first fight in Man of Steel. I thought that was just a cool nod. So Storm has become one of my favorite X-Men characters throughout this show. Each episode she is in pushes my appreciation for her character higher, so I have to give this one a 9 out of 10. With episode 7, we get most of the team regrouping after the Genosha massacre. There's Gambit's funeral. Nightcrawler as the pastor was a great idea. Again, voice acting for him was perfect. Rogue is on a personal mission to find Trask. She meets Captain America, which was the first non-X-Men cameo. The team begins to track down Trask. Really appealing visuals in the scene when they go to the, skyscraper. Rogue's shocking move at the end where she drops Trask. And then the Prime Sentinel reveal. Sinister developing Sentinels for another person was really cool. There's a new age of mutant extermination with these Prime Sentinels, so that was, a cool setup. Then you get the Trask fight, which was really well framed and choreographed. Cable appears and defeats Trask, and then the Summers family is reunited. It was so cool to see that. And then you get the reveal of Bastion, who's the big villain. He's kidnapped Magneto. I'm going to have to give this one a 9.5 out of 10. And then we have episode 8, where the team is trying to figure out what Bastion is doing. He's using the Prime Sentinels as sleeper agents to wipe out mutants so the humans can thrive and enslave other mutants to build a utopia, because Cable explains that in the future, Bastion is the reason why some mutants are enslaved, and he uses them to build a perfect world in his image. Then you get Bastion's origin. He was born with Nimrod technology in his body, and if you don't know, Nimrod is like an evolved version of Master Mold, which is a very powerful sentinel, like hive mind type thing. And he's essentially the human incarnation of Supreme Sentinel technology. So Bastion is super powerful. You get some villain cameos in this with Doctor Doom, Baron Zemo, and maybe Madam Hydra. You get a female voice talking at the end of that scene, and I've seen people theorize it could be Madam Hydra. We don't see a face or anything, but I think that would be a cool nod anyway. It's revealed that there are human volunteers that become the Prime Sentinels. I say volunteers in a certain way because it's not clear if they're actually volunteering or if they're actually being forced into going into this program. Then you get the Prime Sentinel attack on the X-Mansion, which was visually amazing. You get to see Wolverine inside Nightcrawler's teleportation, which was really cool. There's some great fighting with the two of them. The Summers family working together was really awesome. The X-Mansion eventually gets destroyed by the Prime Sentinels. Then you have Magneto, who was released by Val. We find out she was working with Bastion, and she drops the line Magneto was right, meaning that he was right about mutants and humans. There was no way they were going to be able to coexist because the humans always fight back and try to kill all the mutants. So she says that Magneto unleashes a worldwide EMP basically. We get a Spider-Man cameo, we get a Silver Samurai cameo, and we get an Omega Red cameo, which was really cool. I was really excited to see those, especially the Spider-Man one. And then we get the return of Charles. He's in his bug armor from the Shi'ar, and he gets to say the iconic line, "To me, my X-Men." So I'm gonna have to give this one a 9.5 out of 10. Then we get episode 9, the aftermath of the Prime Sentinel attacks and the Magneto EMP. We get the return of actual Magneto. He's back in the red and purple suit, he gets the helmet, and he's developed a new asteroid M. Storm and Forge end up joining the fight. The team regroups, they have to get Magneto to reverse the EMP, but also find Bastion. And then they split into blue and gold team, which was a great nod to the comics. You get Magneto's proposition when he visits the team, basically saying he tried Charles' methods, and it resulted in the Genosha genocide. So he's resorting back to his old methods, where humans and mutants cannot coexist. Mutants above everything else. He has a few lines in the scene that are so good.
When you abandoned us for your Shi'ar bird queen, you bequeathed it to me, asked me to walk your path. Are you prepared to walk mine?
You must undo the damage you've done.
Will humanity undo Genosha?
We have a plan to stop Bastion, but we must also repair Earth.
I promised a boy a future free of fear, only to watch his frightened eyes be vaporized inside his tiny skull, because he believed in me, in the dream you had me sell. How many more of your bones will pave the way to Xavier's future? Where we simper like beggars for tolerance? Your professor's dream is dead.
Insanely good writing. Rogue and Sunspot join Magneto at the end of the scene, so the team is kind of divided at this point. Then you get the comic suits. Wolverine in this brown and yellow looked perfect. I think that's the best Wolverine suit. I hope we see it in the movies one day too. And you get all of the other suits. They're all looking so good. And then you get the Storm and Jean scene in the Blackbird, which was so well written. Storm is so motivating and wise. She's such an inspiration. The visuals of Storm's powers in the scene were so well animated. It looks so cool. You get a Hulk cameo, which was awesome, from Morph. You get Sinister versus Jean. Sinister's playing with her head and controls Cable to fight her. Is she seemingly dead? Is the Phoenix returning? These were my questions as of making these notes, which was before I saw the finale. So I'm going to get to that in the final episode. But you get the Blue Team versus Magneto. Incredible sequences. Again, the visuals are amazing. Magneto does not hold back on his mission. You get the Magneto and Wolverine interaction where Wolverine stabs Magneto, and I was shocked. Like, I jumped when Magneto was stabbed. I was like, there's no way they're gonna kill him in this. And then you get a panel to screen kind of mirror, and it's a shot for shot reference to the Fatal Attraction storyline where Magneto rips out Wolverine's adamantium, and it looks basically the exact same thing. It was so well executed. Huge shock. Just what a way to end this episode. I had to give this one a 10 out of 10. For the finale, just to summarize it without giving too much away, wow. Like, incredible. This is solidified as one of my favorite series Marvel has done, and just Marvel projects in general. Just getting to see, you know, the fallout of this last episode. Leading into this, you're like, is Wolverine dead? Are all these people dead now? You get the Phoenix coming back for a second, kind of, you know, destroying Sinister's mutant genes that he kind of gave to himself. And, you know, all of this kind of stuff going on with Bastion evolving, trying to take out Asteroid M. The astral plane scenes with Charles and Magneto trying to get Magneto out of his, you know, state of decay basically in his mind. You know, all the team is basically, you know, scattered throughout time at the end of this with Asteroid M exploding. You get a lot of cameos in this episode, which I was not expecting. You get like Daredevil, Black Panther, Cloak and Dagger, Iron Man, Captain America, Peter Parker, and MJ. It was so cool seeing the two of them. Just a really well executed show. The finale obviously ends on that cliffhanger with the team being sent across time. You get Scott and Jean in the future, and most of the others are in the past. Some characters we don't see though are Wolverine and Morph. So I'm very curious where they could be, especially Wolverine, because he's such a core member of the X-Men that it seems weird that they left him out of this scene. So I'm hoping he's okay. But going forward, I think season 2 is going to be really exciting. You get the nod to Apocalypse. I think they've got some really cool things planned. So overall, this series was fantastic. I recommend it to anyone that's just a fan of animation and really good storytelling, obviously superheroes and the X-Men characters. One of my all-time favorite series, I think. The consistency from episode to episode was so well done. And I think it's going to be a lot to handle when they go to adapt them for the live-action movies. They have to like go past the bar, because this show sets the bar so high. It's going to be really hard for the movies to top it. So I really hope the team behind this goes forward in creating the X-Men later on. Obviously, Beau DeMayo, who wrote this season, was fired, so they're going to have to adjust to that for season 2. Just the understanding of these characters, the mythos, all of that with the X-Men universe, so well executed. So it's no surprise that I give this series a 10 out of 10. One of the greatest Marvel projects ever. If you enjoyed this review, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe and like this video. Check out my other reviews that I have linked below, and I look forward to getting to season 2 eventually. And please go watch this show. It's so well done. So thank you for watching.